Good day, ma'am. I am James Howard Saldia from BSHM 3A, and today I will discuss about the Chapter 7 special topics. So our topic outline for today are Senior Citizen Law, Consumer Acts of the Philippines, Cultural Minorities, Protected Areas, Wildlife and Heritage and Cultural Presentation, UAI, Draft Charter on the Right of Monetaries, National Caves and Cave Resources Management Protection Act, Republic Act 9147, Wildlife Resource Conservation and Protection Act, Republic Act 7586, National Integrated Protected Area System Act of 1992, Law on Intellectual Property Rights, Law on Intellectual Property Rights, Anti-Child Abuse, Anti-Prostitution Law, Anti-Pornography Law, Anti-Hijacking Law, Dangerous Drug Law, Anti-Smoking Law, Anti-Smuggling Law, Law on Violence Against Women and Children, Law on Human Trafficking, International Law on Tourism, the Global Code of Ethics and Tourism, UNESCO World Heritage, Health Tourism, and tourism research. So for the learning objectives are the discuss the various special laws affecting the tourism industry, identify the situation and problems where these special laws may be applied as a solution, identify some tourism establishments that implements as well as not implement the special laws. Senior Citizen Law, the Republic Act Number 9257, also known as the Senior Citizen Act of 2003, was enacted to provide senior citizens with the various benefits and privileges. This includes discounts on goods and services. Senior citizens are entitled to a 20% discount on all goods of services offered to the general public, regardless of the amount purchased. This applies to establishments of the all classification including hotel and lodging establishment, restaurants, and recreation centers. This discounts applies to inclusive use of the senior citizen. Discount of admission fees. Senior citizens are entitled to minimum of 20% discount on the admission fees charged by the following theaters, cinemas house, then concert halls, circuses, carnivals, and other similar spaces, and other similar places of cultural, leisure, and amusement. This discount applies to the exclusive use or enjoyment of the senior citizen. Discounts on domestic air and sea travel. Senior citizens are entitled to minimum of 20% discount on fares for a domestic air and sea travel. This applies to the actual fare, including a promotional fares, advancing booking fares, and other discounted fares. The discount is the exclusive use and enjoyment of the senior citizen. Discount on the public transportation. Senior citizens are entitled to a 20% discount on the fares of public railways, including LRT, MRT, PNR, and Skyways. Consumer Act of the Philippines, Republic Act of 7394, April 30, 1992, Republic Act 9372, also known as the Human Security Act of 2007, aims to protect life, liberty, and property from acts of terrorism, which are defined as acts of humanity and the law of nations. Specific acts of considered terrorism under the revised penal code include piracy in a general mutiny in the high seas or Philippine waters, rebellion or ins- insurrection, predate, murder, kidnapping and serious illegal detention, crimes against destruction such as arson, violation of the Toxic Substances and Hazardous and Nuclear Waste Control Act of 1990, the Atomic Energy Regulatory and Reliability Act of 1968, the Anti-Hijacking Law, the Anti-Piracy and the Anti-Robbery Highway Law, an illegal and unlawful possession, manufacture, dealing, the acquisition or deposition of firearms, ammunition, and explosives. Consumer Acts of the Philippines, Republic Act 7394, April 13, 1992. The aims of objective of the law is to protect consumer interests, promote the general welfare, and establish standards of the conduct for the business and industry. The law implements measures to achieve these objectives by protecting against hazards to health and safety, protecting against deceptive, unfair, unconscionable sales acts and practices, providing information and education to facilitate sound choices and the proper exercise of consumer rights, providing adequate rights and means of redress, evolving consumer representative in the formation of social and economic policies, cultural minorities, protected areas, wildlife and heritage and cultural presentation, Republic Act Number 8371, Indigenous People Rights Act of the 1997, October 29, 1997. This the say the said law implements the states of recognition of promotion and of all the rights of indigenous cultural communities or indigenous people within the framework of constitutions. It further enforces the following state policy: recognition and promotion of the rights of ICCs, IPCs within the framework of national unity and development. Protection of the right of ICCs, IPs to these ancestral domains to ensure their economic, social, and cultural well-being. This includes recognizing the applicability of customary laws governing property rights or relations of the determining the ownership of extant ancestral domain. Recognition, respect, and protection of the right of ICCs or IPs to preserve and develop their cultures, traditions, and institutions. The states guarantee the member of the ICC or IP, regardless of sex, should equally enjoy the full measure of the human rights and freedom without the distinction of or discrimination. The state of commitment to take measures within the participation of ICCs or IPs concerned to protect their rights and guarantee respect for their cultural integrity. This includes ensuring that members of ICC or IP benefit on an equal footing of the rights of opportunities which national law and regulation grant to the other members of the population. The state of recognition of the obligation to respond to the strong expression of the ICCs or IPs for cultural integrity by assuring maximum ICC or IP participation in the direction of education, health, as well as other of ICCs, IPs, in order to render such services or more responsive to the needs of the desire of the communities. UA Draft Charter on the Rights of Minorities. The Lawyers Association have a role play in promoting the defending the individual and collective rights of minorities and their members. Hence, the Lawyers Association at the international meeting in San Francisco have decided to adopt the International Charter for the purpose of seeking to ensure that the principles set below are complied with. Article 1 prohibits discrimination against individuals based on their membership in a national, ethnic, linguistic, cultural, or religious minority or because of their sexual orientation. Article 2 Lawyers Association will promote education of the minority rights in the law school and continuing education program focusing on the nature of these rights and effective legal strategies. Article 3 guarantees that individuals from minority groups facing the trial are entitled to a fair trial according to the international law before a dependent and impartial court. Republic Act Number 9072, National Caves and Cave Resources Management Protection Act, April 2001. The law implements the policy of the state to conserve, protect, and manage caves and cave resources as a part of the country's natural wealth. Toward this end, the state should strengthen the cooperation and exchange of information between government authorities and people who utilize caves and cave resources for scientific, educational, and recreational tourism. Republic Act 9147, Wildlife Resource Conservation and Protection Act, July 30, 2001. This law's policy is to conserve the country wildlife resources and habitats for sustainability. Its objects are to conserve and protect the wildlife species and their habitats, to promote ecological balance and enhance biological diversity, to regulate the collection and trade of wildlife, to pursue with regard to the national interests the Philippine commitment to international conventions for the protection of wildlife and their habitats, to initiate or support scientific studies on the conservation of biological diversity. Republic Act 7586, National Integrated Protected Areas System Acts of 1992, June 1, 1992. This law is based on the policy of the state to secure for the Filipino people of present of the future generation the perpetual existence of the native plants and animals through establishment of the comprehensive system of integrated protected areas within the classification of national parks as provided for the Constitution. The establishment of the National Integrated Protected Area systems should encompass outstandingly remarkable areas and biologically important public lands that are habitats of rare and endangered species of plants and animals, by geographic zones and related ecosystem, whether territorial, wetland, or marine, all of which should be designated as a protected areas. Law on Intellectual Property Rights, Republic Act 8293, Intellectual Property Code of the Philippines. The law is enacted to streamline administrative procedures of the registering patents, trademarks, and copyrights, to liberalize the registration on the transfer of technology, to enhance the enforcement of intellectual property rights in the Philippines. Anti-Child Abuse Law, Republic Act 8293, Intellectual Property Code of the Philippines. This law implements the policy of the state to provide special protection to children from all forms of abuse, neglect, cruelty, exploitation, discrimination, and other conditions prejudicial to their development, including child labor and war crimes, and provides sanctions of their commission. Anti-Prostitution Law, Article 202, 5 Prostitutes. For purposes of this article, women who, for money or profit, habitually indulge in sexual intercourse or lascivious conduct or deemed or prostitutes. Anti-Pornography Law, Article 201, address penalties for immoral doctrines, obscene publications and exhibitions, and indecential. Penalties apply to those who publicly expound or proclaim doctrines openly contrary to public morals. Authors to obscene literature published with their knowledge, editors publishing such literatures, and owners operators of establishments selling it. Those who exhibit the extended of immoral plays, extends acts, or shows that treaters fairs scenographic of the other plays. These include those that glorify criminals or condone crimes, serve no other purpose that justify the market of violence, lust, or pornography, often any race or religion, tend to abet traffic in the use of prohibited drugs, are contrary the law, public order, morals, good customs, established by policy, lawful orders, decrees, and edicts. Those who sell, give away, or exhibit films, prints, engraving, sculptures, or literature offense to morals. Anti-hijacking law. Under Republic Act Number 6235, June 1971, hijacking is committed by any person who compels a change in the course of destination or aircraft of Philippine registry or size or of the control thereof while it is the flight. An aircraft is a flight for a moment all its external doors are closed following the embarkation until any such of doors is open for discombration. Dangerous drug laws, Republic Act Number 9165, also known as the Comprehensive Dangerous Drugs of 2002. This law implements the policy of state to safeguard the integrity of its territory and well-being of its citizenry, particularly the youth, from the harmful effects of dangerous drugs, of their physical and mental well-being, and defend the same against acts or omissions detrimental to their development or provisions. In a view of foregoing, the state needs to enhance the further efficiency of the law against dangerous drugs, its being one of the today more serious social ills. Anti-Smoking Law, Republic Act 87849, Philippine Clean Air Act of 1999. This law implements the state of policy of balancing the development of environmental protection through sustainable development. The state policy is based on these objectives to formulate the holistic national program of air pollution management, implemented through the proper regulation and effective coordination of the government functions and activities, to engage cooperation and self-regulation among citizens and industries through market-based instruments, to focus primarily on pollution prevention rather than control, and to provide the cooperation of air pollution management programs, to promote public information and education, and encourage the participation of informed and active public air in the area of quality, planning, and monitoring, the formulate of to, to, to formulate and enforce system of accountability for short, a long-term adverse and governmental impact projects, programs, or activities. This includes establishing a funding or guarantee mechanism for cleanup, environmental rehabilitation, and compensation for personal damages. Anti-Smuggling Law, Section 3601, Unlawful Importation. Any person should prudently import from bringing into the Philippines or as is doing any article contrary to law, or should receive, conceal, buy, sell, or any manner facilitate to transportation, concealment of sale of such article after importation, knowing the same had been imported a contrary law, should be guilty of smuggling. Law on Violence Against Women and Children, Republic Act 9262, Anti-Violence Against Women and Their Children Act of 2004, Section 3, Violence Against Women and Children, refer to refers to any act of series of acts committed by any person against a woman who is his life, former wife, or against a woman with whom that the person had a sexual or dating relationship, or with whom he has a common child, whether legitimate or illegitimate, within or without family abuse, which result is likely to result in a physical, sexual, psychological harm or of suffering, economic abuse, including threats, ac- such acts, battery, assaults, and concern, harassment, or arbitrary deprivation of liberty. Laws on Human Trafficking, Republic Act 9208, Anti-Trafficking in the Person of the Acts of 2003, May 26, 2003. Section 3, a trafficking in a person refers to the recruitment, transportation, transfers, or harboring or receipt of person who with or without the victims of consent of knowledge within the across national borders by means of threats or use of force of other forms of concern, adoption, fraud, deception, abuse of the power of possession, taking advantage of the vulnerability of the person who are or the giving or receiving the payment or benefits to achieve the consent of the person who having control over another person for the purpose exploitation, which includes to a minimum the exploitation of the prostitution of the others or other forms of sexual exploitation, forced labor or services, slavery, servitude or removal or scale of organs. International law on tourism. World Tourism Organization. The World Tourism Organization is a specialized agency of the United Nations of the leading international organization in the field of tourism. It serves as a global forum of the tourism policy issues, a practical source of tourism know-how. It plays a central and decisive role in promoting the development of responsible, sustainable, and universally accessible tourism, paying particular attention to the interests of developing countries. The Globe Code of the Ethics for Tourism enabled the come to the triumph set of frame of reference of the responsible sustainable development of the world tourism. It draws inspiration from the many similar declaration of the and industry codes of the hub of before and it adds new thinking that reflects our changing society at the beginning of the 21st century with international tourism forecast to nearly triple of volume over the next 20 years. Members of the World Tourism Organization believe that the Global Code of the Ethics for Tourism is needed to help minimize the negative impacts of the tourism on the environment or cultural heritage while maximizing the benefits for residents of tourism destinations. UNESCO World Heritage, the United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization, seek to encourage the identification, protection, and preservation of cultural and natural heritage around the world. This embodied the international treaty called the Convention Concerning the Protection of the World Cultural and Natural Heritage, adopted by UNESCO in 1972. Health tourism. Health tourism is a tourism associated with a travel to health spas or resorts destination where the primary purpose is to improve the traveler's physical well-being through regimen of the physical exercise, therapy, and dietary control and medical service relevant to health maintenance. Tourism research. The growth of development of tourism industry is imperative in the context of regional and countryside of development. It generates the employment, trade, and business opportunities. It also promotes strong backward of the and forward linkage with other industries such as transports, real estate and property development, hotels or resorts, gift shops, restaurant, jewelry, construction, among others. Thank you.